My name is Rob Annesley and I'm a photographer from Sydney, Australia. As a wildlife photographer, I've always been interested in the natural world, of course, and as I've been going photographing birds and wildlife and reptiles, I've come across insects all the time, and I find them to be very, very fascinating. Colourful, different textures, sizes, and so I just started photographing in macro and really enjoyed it. My project is called the Underworld, and as the title might suggest, it's about the tiny little world that we very rarely see under our feet. It's about little insects, and I'm shooting them in a macro and close-up style, and I'm trying to expose and show off what we normally don't see unless we stop, sit, watch, lift up a leaf, move a branch, and just see what is there right next to us. The project has covered in excess of 10,000 kilometres, all the way from northeastern Victoria in the Alpine region, all the way up as far north Queensland in the wet tropics, travelling all the way through Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland. As a wildlife photographer, photographing birds and other wildlife, I got excited by the small insects that I saw while I was out in the field. So many different shapes and sizes and colours. It just became a natural progression to want to photograph all those colourful little insects. The end goal of the project is basically to alert as many people as I possibly can to the fact that our insects are disappearing. And that's a real concern for us, because insects, particularly the pollinators, which are butterflies, bees, and any insect that lands on flowers and gathers pollen and then takes it to another flower, is really important. And we're losing those pollinators through a number of circumstances. If that occurs, then we're in real strife, because those insects at the base of our infrastructure, we need them for our food source. And if we don't have them pollinating our food sources, then we can't exist on the planet. Okay, so we've just found a couple of nice little colourful dragonflies. I'm currently using the GF110 lens with the MCEX18 extension tube, but for this shot I'm going to take the extension tube off and just use the 110, and I'm going to utilize the 100 megapixel resolution on this camera and probably do a fairly hard crop in once we get the shot of this dragonfly. I'm using the FUJIFILM GFX system because the camera produces incredibly sharp images. 102 megapixel files, there's plenty of dynamic range, incredible sharpness, and a file that size, if I need to, I can crop in to show more detail in the insects that I'm photographing. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm just searching the leaves, the tree trunks, and in the bushes for any insect that might be hiding. You've got to look fairly closely, so that's why I use a torch. The torch helps me to identify different textures or profile silhouettes that might actually not fit in with the structure of the plant or tree. In an attempt to get this information in front of people, I'm creating a book of insects from the 4 ecoregions across Australia, up and down the East Coast. In order to do that, I'm photographing as many insects as I can, interesting ones that hopefully will appeal to people visually and get them understanding more about insects and their role in our lives. I guess my hope would be that we might find a publisher, someone who sees the educational and environmental value in it, to take this to schools so that young people can get an understanding of the fragility of the environment as we're losing insects and the insects are disappearing off the planet. As you can imagine, covering so much distance with the price of petrol these days, it's quite an expensive exercise to cover this many kilometres over a 2-month period. All in all, the project has taken me 5 months to complete, travelling all over the countryside. And the FUJIFILM Challenge grant has been very, very helpful, and for that I'm extremely grateful to FUJIFILM for selecting me to further my project.